Battle of the Bulge enters its 7th bloody day. Elements of the 5th Panzer Army have driven 80 kilometers into Belgium and encircled the key Allied-held town of Bastogne. General George Patton sends the 4th Armored Division to break the siege. And on the morning of December 23rd, Lieutenant Colonel Albin Erzik leads his tanks into the village of Chaumont, 12 kilometers south of Bastogne.
So B Company started to advance down the town. And at that point, the heavens open up and all hell breaks loose. You just cannot describe the chaos that's there. It was a platoon of 4 Tiger Jags.
The Jag Tiger is a self-propelled tank killer, a 71-ton armored beast with a 128-millimeter cannon that can tear open a Sherman more than 3.5 kilometers away.
There's tanks being hit, bang, 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 all over the place. B Company is downtown, and you can't turn in town, so we're very vulnerable. So I told my driver to start backing up. Now he's backing up blind. He needs some help from me. So as we moved back out, I had the turret turned. So I could see the road, and I'm directing the driver. So that means the back of the turret is toward the enemy, which makes it very, very vulnerable. And I began to breathe a little easier when it seemed like we were out of range. When suddenly I heard this loud, screeching, horrible sound just for an instant. And the tank was pushed forward as though some sledgehammer had hit it. 128, which should have breezed through the turret like a hot knife through butter, but it must have hit the ricochet off. So I told the driver, keep going. As we were moving back, I noticed there was a seam in the tank turret with daylight showing. So I knew something had hit the turret. And we finally pulled the tank out of range. I asked myself the question, why are we still here? Why did my tank survive this battle when I had this terrible, terrible blow? Next to the antenna well was something. It was an object. And to this day, I don't know why it was there. And the only thing I can conclude is that it must have hit this appendage and ricocheted off. It was an absolute miracle that I survived that battle and I'm still here.
At the Battle of Chaumont, Combat Command B loses 18 tanks and most of their crews. The Germans and their deadly Jag Tigers have stalled Colonel Erzik's drive to Bastogne. "12 kilometers to the southeast, tanks of the Combat Command Reserve move towards Bougainville. Their mission is to take the heavily defended town and protect the flank of units advancing towards Bastogne. En route, they encounter a German patrol.
But we made our approach into Bougainville, and I pulled our tank up behind the railroad track. Momentarily, here came a Sherman tank and 2 German SPs. They captured an American Sherman and painted out our stars and painted on their cross. And when I came up behind the railroad track, my hull was in defilade. Defilade, the tank comes up from the rear, and as it approaches up, its gun points over the hill. That's called hull defilade because the hull is not seen by the enemy. The gunner's periscope was about 14 inches higher than the tube. The gun was looking at the track. The sight was above the track. So when he fired, he hit the first rail. And I said, push up a little bit. And he pushed up a little bit more, fired again, hit the second rail. I said, push up further. Yeah, roger. So I pushed it up enough that I got beyond the track, and we got a shell into the Sherman tank. And I also added another shell to each of these SPs.
With the German patrol outside Bougainville eliminated, Captain Leach leads his B Company into the center of the town.
So our approach in every village, we would recon by fire with the bow gun shooting one direction and the coax machine gun shooting another on the side of the roads. So we were an avalanche of fire, movement, fire and movement. We fought in the hatch open mode. So you could see the target, quickly. With the periscope, you're limited. You're blind except for where you're looking. And with your eyes like this, you can move your head back and forth and see targets. So we could engage quickly, but the enemy could also engage us quickly because we're exposing ourselves. So we had a lot of injured tank commanders as a result of fighting unbuttoned. Our infantry had failed to clear out all the houses. The German soldiers were still in some of these houses. But my tanks were all over the streets. And moments later, I'm hit. The bullet went into the helmet, as you see right here. It cut the sweatband off of my head, and this I had underneath. And here is where the bullet hit my head and knocked me out. So I passed out and fell into the turret floor. They jokingly said, "Captain, get your butt back in the turret, you got work to do." Well, I did have work to do.
In 16 hours, the CCR takes Bougainville. And on December 24th, General Patton orders them to join the main attack towards Bastogne, and they spend Christmas Day moving west. Finally, on December 26th, the tanks of the Combat Command Reserve are poised to launch one of the most daring armored charges in the history of tank warfare.